As we've progressed through this series, we've created an awful lot of templates, many of which duplicate the styles used within them. In this video I'm simply going to go through and tidy up those styles, moving most of them into the main style sheet, while keeping anything specific to a template within that template itself. If we look at some of the templates we've created, we can see that the vast majority of them do have duplicated information. And so all I'm going to do is move this duplicated information into our main style sheet and import that main style sheet here. There will obviously be duplication in this process, and we will clean that up afterwards. But it's important that we go through the process to make sure that we don't miss anything, and to also make sure that we don't accidentally include anything that we don't need to. So the main style sheet itself is going to always be in public styles main. Which is accessible from this path. This specific style sheet, the stretch fixture, is used to display all of the fixtures, so we can navigate to this page to confirm that our changes have taken place and that we haven't actually broken the style in the process. So if we just go to fixtures, we can see that we have actually broken the background for the paper elements. We can therefore copy and paste this back across. In fact, we'll cut and paste this back across. If we go back over to our browser and refresh again, we can see that everything is back as we intended it to be. The reason we can't style this from our main style sheet is simply because this paper shadow is basically just an instance of the paper shadow. We can and do create multiple paper shadows, and so it wouldn't be right for us to style all of them from within our main style sheet. So we can copy this section and close this. And the next template that we will look at is the fixture profile template. This is used in our team profiles to display future fixtures. So if we click on any of these teams, we can see that this is the future fixtures element, which lists all of the team's future fixtures. So the easiest thing to do will simply be to delete everything inside of there and replace it with the link to the main style sheet, as well as the paper shadow style that we applied to the paper shadow element within our other template. So if we save this and go back across to our browser and refresh, you can see that this displays exactly how we want it to. Everything else, apart from the paper shadow, is pulling it directly from our main style sheet. So we can go ahead and just trim the rest of this and close this style. If we go to full table, this is the style used for our main table, specifically this table, which contains all of our information about the played, won, drawn, lost, etc, etc. So we're just going to do the exact same thing here. Delete the entire style element, replace it with a link to the main style sheet, and then we'll make sure that this is still working in our main element. So if we refresh this page, everything's still working as we intended. So we can close our full table style. We then have our goal scorers. If we click on our player table, this will be this table, which lists every goal scorer. Again, we have all of these elements in our main style sheet anyway, And so we can just copy and paste that across, and then just refresh the page to make sure everything's still exactly as we intended, which it is. So if we close that template, the next one we can look at is the person edit screen. This is used when we're editing the referee's name, as well as when we're editing the player's name. So if we go to Workspace, Referee/edit, and provide a number for a referee, this is the element that we're editing now. This element does, however, use some custom CSS. We are using the team logo, for example, specifically within this class. We're also not using the paper input outside of this class, and so it wouldn't make sense to move this into our main CSS style. And we would also encounter the same issues as we have with the paper shadow, in that this is only an instance of the paper input element. And so there's not actually anything that we need to change on this screen. If we go across to referee edit, we have the exact same thing in this scenario, whereby the referee doesn't include the team logo. In fact, neither does the person edit, so we can remove that. There's obviously no logos displayed here. That was obviously a leftover from when we changed from editing the team into editing individual people. And so we can close back out of that. We also don't actually use the referee edit screen. If we delete this and go back to our browser, you can see that this is still working. And that's because we refactored our referee input template into a person input template, because we use the exact same fields for our players as well as our referees. We then come across to our stretch results screen, which, as well as the other ones, also includes a vast majority of the information which we've just moved across to our main input screen. And so we can replace that with a link to the main CSS file, as well as style for the actual paper shadow element. We can also go back across to our browser to check that this is still working. So our results page is still showing our results properly. So if we close this one, the next one is the results input screen, which corresponds to this. And if we input a referee ID of 28, we can see that this is still styled properly. If we look through our main.css file, you can see that we have table full width styled within there. And so I'm going to cut both of these elements and put them in our main style sheet. I'm then just, for consistency, going to paste across the style once again. And if we go back across to our browser and refresh the page, you can see that everything is still styled properly. So next up we have the results profile page. All of these elements are specified in our main style sheet, except for paper shadow obviously, and so we can just paste across this version. This is the version of the results page which is displayed in the team profile page, so we can go and check that that's still working as well. So if we go into fixtures and go into one of the teams, it's this element that we've just restyled, which is obviously working properly and fully as we intended, and so we can close out of this file. We then have the stretch team profile. Here we're using clear fixed team logo, left align and the paper shadow, so we can check whether these are being used in our main style sheet as well. We have our left align, we have our team logo, We don't, however, have a clear fix, so we can copy that across. So in order to check this, we can just load up our team profile page again. So if we just simply go to the top and reload, the team profile is displaying properly. We then have our team profile edit page, and these are the same elements that we've already discussed. We do, however, need to include the paper input. And so I'll simply paste this across and move the paper input back inside. To check that this is working, we can go back across to our browser once more and replace profile with edit. And this is all displaying as we would intend it to. So the last one that we need to check is the team selection. We definitely have the full width style within our template, and so we can simply import the main style sheet once more. And if we head back over to our browser for one last time and go to selection, and we also need to select our specific team, then it's going to display properly. Before we're finished, we also want to clean up this section as well. We obviously don't want to specify different properties for the same class multiple times, and so we can quickly go through and check that we're not doing so. So we're not using the paper shadow card element anymore, which we can confirm by refreshing our page on any of the pages. They're all displaying properly still. So we have all of our table data elements here. We have table full width here, and then our links. So we do have buttons center aligned and center aligned here. We may want to check where these are being used to make sure that they're being used correctly. I have a feeling that they are, however. We have more table data here. So I'm simply going to cut this and move it up to next to the other table data information. So we have table.data, and we also have this up here, and so we can delete this instance because the two are identical. This is also identical to up here. This is identical to here. Our table hover is identical to here. Table full width is identical here. And we haven't got a table full width TD anywhere. If we then bring our links down, because we have other link elements at the bottom, we have the same element here as we have here, and we have our visited, both of which change to the same colour. By removing all of this duplication, we've obviously saved ourselves a lot of network traffic, because the same files are going to be smaller now, while performing exactly the same. This also marks the end of this project. However, there is going to be one final video in which I summarise all my thoughts about Polymer and wrap up the entire experience, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out. I deliberately chose a data heavy project because I knew from previous experience working with templates, specifically within JavaScript, that it can be very difficult to work with, especially when you're dealing with complex data in tables